Reading in the name of the Most High. Yah, Yah, YHWH, the Most High's name, Yahweh, 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 Jehovah, Jehovah, Jah. Right? And his son, Yahushua HaMashiach, Jesus Christos, Jesus Christ, the only begotten of the Father, slain, the Lamb that was slain from the foundations of the earth, took the punishment for our sin, not just physically but spiritually. And he did nothing wrong. And so, traded places with all of I, hair like wool, skin like brass in a furnace. Red eyes. Right. Slain for our sake. So when Jah looks at us, he sees him. Doesn't mean you can behave wickedly and continue in error and foolishness and sin. But it does mean you're forgiven for those things. You have to trod forward, not backward. Not to the left, not to the right. Straight and narrow. Balance and truth and righteousness. You do become correct the law, or correct how the law was being dealt with. People did not, the Pharisees did not understand, overstand, or have the heart to know the spirit of the law. They were arguing over nitpicky stuff about the letter of the law and not really getting the real meat of what's there. So, Jesus Christ was a revolutionary in that sense. He was, meant to die for our sins, right? But in the way that it was administered was through the governments and systems. 2 years after Jesus Christ was born, Yahshua Messiah was born, they had the culling of the innocents, the culling of the innocent, right? Eugenics, because they had to kill every potential firstborn son around that time to try to get rid of the Messiah through the government's power. And then you go back to the times of Moses, where the same thing happened there with Moses' birth. Moses was saved so that he could fulfill his purpose in redeeming the Hebrew people. And what is Israelite is not the same as Hebrew. I think a lot of people don't understand that. Is that Israelite is Yasharalite. Yasharal is the real way you say it. Yasharal, upright before Elohim, right? They are a people, right? A blood, a people, a seed, right? A shoot, right? But Hebrew means to cross over and serve the way of the Most High. And even back then, there was the priestly order outside of Levi of the order of Melchizedek in Moses' time. And that's why Moses' wife was good to go for Moses, because she was an Ethiopian woman, Zipporah. Right? Because that's the Melchizedek connection there with Ethiopia. Because Jethro was a high priest in Midian. What kind of high priest? He's talking about the Melchizedek order, okay? He wasn't Melchizedek himself, but that's the other order. Okay, outside of Levi, before Abraham was, I am, right? So, I don't really know where I was going there. I kind of lost my point. But anyways, these eugenics, that's where I was going. These eugenics operations to slaughter people in masses have always been perpetrated by the government. The Holodomor in Russia was the starving out of, I think it's millions and millions. I might be wrong about that. I need to check my numbers on that because it's been a while since I talked about it. But they starved out millions and millions of Russian natives, real like root Russians, like the Orthodox peoples, the peoples that are originally would carry signs around with the Christians, the Orthodox Christians there would carry around signs there and banners with the pictures and images of the real Jesus Christ, Ethiopic Jesus Christ, with the looks just like Haile Selassie back in the day, way back in the day. So we're talking about remnants of the old world Ethiopic ruled Christian order of the earth, which was part of the 1,000 years. The dragon was locked up in the 1,000-year reign of Christ. Okay, so they have to call all of the remnants of all that stuff left, and they did that in Russia through the starvation of the peoples, and all they got to eat was like just straight up wheat. And I don't know if y'all know this, but if all you eat is wheat is a chelator, just like beans are. Beans are a chelator too. They will chop up all the minerals out of your body, and you'll eventually die. You can't eat nothing but just straight up wheat, period. So, and I'm sure there were some of these, I'm sure, but some of these places were homesteads that actually provided all kinds of goods for the community. And they were productive mixed farm agriculture, as in they had animals and crops, right? Which are the most productive homesteads on the earth, and that's been proven over and over again. Mixed crops, animals and crops, mixed farms. So they were, a blessing to their community. And then these Bolshevik, so-called Yehudi, fake Yehudi Jews, these Bolshevik Jews come in and change all that stuff up, and they starve the people out. They shut down those homesteads or steal their agricultural goods, or burn them and destroy it all. And then these people are starved out, and all they get is rations from the government of nasty fucking wheat. Government wheat, right? I'm on a walk today, obviously. And I just wanted to kind of preface what we're talking about today with a little bit of that information about eugenics and different ways eugenics operations play out, and how they have obviously played out from biblical times till today. And it's always by the hand of the government. Always. Hopefully y'all could hear me. I think I had my finger over the mic a little bit, like a dummy. But so if the government, and that's what the old CV boy was, the old virus 9/11 was that we just had recently. Was, I don't want to say it too clearly because I don't want my video to just get shut down immediately, but they did that as a psychological operation, as a culling of the herd, a eugenics operation. So if we look at history, and the clear, plain, objective evidence shows that the same people who have been so-called taken care of after times of war through war criminal prosecution were never gotten rid of and taken care of, and they still are in power today, and they control both the left and the right wing politics. They control both sides, and they're the ones still doing this stuff to us today. And if you do a little bit of research in America, there's going to be a Holodomerica, evidently, just like they had the Holodomor in Russia. Well, they're going to starve out Americans here, and our government will have a hand in it, because they're all the governments of the world have a secret pact that's not so secret, but it's pretty actually open. It used to be secret, but now it's not secret. Now it's just out in the open. But all these governments work together to push forward this New World Order agenda, which is polar, multipolar, bilateral. I can't remember exactly how to say it. I kind of lost my vocabulary on that one. But basically, it's an all-encompassing panopticon controlled by a few who use politics and the charade of politics and media to mind control populations into this or that, like moving herds of cattle. And they always do, the right hand is doing this over here, but nobody's looking at the left hand, while they have the populace bickering about the left wing and right wing topics, right? They're passing through on both sides bipartisanly with the left hand over here secretly. But it's really, if you just do some research, it's not so secret, you know. You just gotta look. But bipartisanly, left and right wing works together under the order of the Jesuit mafia, okay, from the Vatican, okay? And that's why the Vatican and Jesuits are always involved in inaugurational situations and the end of the presidential race and so on. Have the banquet where a Jesuit cardinal will be there, right? Because they're all playing for the same team. Over here on the right hand, they got you dazzled and mesmerized with the political charades of left versus right, okay? But bipartisanly, secretly, but not so secretly, on the left hand, they're playing you this way, making this mark of the beast all-encompassing control grid that makes living men and women data commodities and bases everything off of a digital print. So you have your digital identity, and you will not be able to buy, sell, or trade without this system. And you will be biometrically scanned, tracked, and traced everywhere you go, in or out of the country. And they will use things like the border crisis dialectic between the left wing and right wing paradigms, right? They'll use that argument to slip on by biometrics at entry, outry of the country at the border, so that everybody is treated like cattle. We're all just numbers in a factory or a prison, really. And that's what they want. And if you are a sincere Christian in any way, or Rasta, to continue walking forward in this trap, which has been plainly warned by the Lord himself all through the scriptures, by Jesus Christ, our Savior himself, over and over and over again. And the fact that Jesus Christ quoted the book of Esdras, you know, countless times in the book of Esdras, talks a lot about this time that we're in now. And that's the time we're in. We're not in the time that Babylon corrupted versions of the churchianity system says we're in. We're in the time that we are in. And to continue to put your trust and hope and faith in any part of this system is futile. And that's why the topic of today's video is the 4 pillars of the second Exodus. Okay. Exodus out of Babylon. Moses had an Exodus. We're going to have an Exodus, the greater Exodus, of all different tongues and tribes of people. Because God's house is a house of prayer for all nations. Right? All of those who are called out of her, my people, are going to exit Babylon. And some of us may die trying to, or may even die because they can't find a way to do it, because they give up. And that's kind of where I'm at. But because nobody I love or trust wants to do it with me. And even though they know it's the truth. But that's where we're going to talk about these 4 pillars. The first pillar of the second Exodus, the greater Exodus, that is talked about in the scriptures, which we'll do that in the next video maybe. We'll go through the scriptures about this, the greater Exodus. One of the scriptures is in Isaiah. And one of the roads, the spiritual road out, there's cannabis growing on both sides of the road. So, and that's based on the Hebrew. Oh, son of a bitch. What's going on here? Still recording.